A moment etched in history, a man of the time. As we mourn the passing of our fifth Prime Minister, the Most Honourable Edward Seaga, we share with you dates of activities to celebrate his life. We also reflect on his youthful days. You're watching Jamaica Magazine. Hello, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Welcome.
I like to do things that can help people to develop. Because when you help people to develop, you're helping the country to develop.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, June 6. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says legislation is being developed to give further protection to the Cockpit Country. He says this is being done while the Forestry Department verifies the boundaries through on-the-ground observation of the area.
Once that is done, we will be coming to Parliament with the necessary legislation to declare and protect the area as appropriate, both from commercial disturbances, industrial disturbances, and from agricultural and other kinds of use which would not be in keeping with the nature of what we are trying to protect here.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness gave the assurance Wednesday as he carried out a ground truthing exercise and toured a section of the Tire Forest in the Cockpit Country Forest Reserve. In 2017, the state declared 76,459 hectares of land stretching across Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Elizabeth, St. James, and Manchester as the protected cockpit area. Since then, ground truthing, which is direct observation, has been ongoing through a 4-year, €16.5 million commitment from the European Union's Development Fund. €14 million will be used to implement the National Forest Management and Conservation Plan 2016 to 2026. The relocation of families living close to the island's mud lakes will begin this year with a steady plan to relocate all of them over time. This after discussions with the Mining Ministry, the principals of Jiquan Iron and Steel Company, JISCO, and other mining companies.
We have seen and heard the cries of our people who are suffering because of the dust nuisance generated from the mud lakes. Let me apologize to them for the discomfort, but hope is on the way. JISCO is our largest investor in modern times, and they are still investing. They are displaying good corporate citizenship, and I thank them.
The Minister of Transport and Mining provided the details during his sectoral presentation in Parliament this Tuesday. He reiterated plans to develop a minerals land bank to buy and hold land for future development and prevent citizens from building or developing on those lands in the meantime. As of June 15, ordinary Jamaicans will have the opportunity to travel by plane from one section of the island to another. Minister Robert Montague says 2 private investors, Howard Levy from Jamaica and Lyndon Gardner from the Turks and Caicos Islands, will be offering the domestic flights to every registered aerodrome in the country.
Mr. Gardner has just indicated to me that domestic flights in Jamaica are now on his webpage. And as of 2 minutes ago, he flicked the switch. So it was added to his portal, because he's now selling domestic flights, and you can start as of the 9th of July here within our aerodromes within Jamaica. Scheduled flights. Gentlemen, I want to thank you. These scheduled domestic flights mark a new and historic day in general aviation in Jamaica.
Minister Montague says both investors own airlines and will offer scheduled domestic flights as the first step, followed by international flights to the Northern Caribbean, Mexico, and Florida. The draft National Diaspora Policy is expected to be endorsed at the upcoming 8th Biennial Diaspora Conference. The conference will be held in Kingston at the Jamaica Conference Center from June 16 to 20. This year's theme is Jamaica and the Diaspora, Building Pathways for Sustainable Development. Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, says the policy has been reviewed to incorporate the Sustainable Development Goals as well as the National Migration and Development Policy.
I've conducted focus groups personally with community members in New York and Miami and Canada and the UK, and those further comments have been taken into consideration.
Minister Johnson-Smith was speaking at a JIS think tank on Wednesday. Activities planned for the 8th Biennial Diaspora Conference include the Governor General Awards, panel discussions with government ministers, and Government at Your Service, where 11 public sector agencies will be on location to offer their services. The conference will also facilitate linkages meetings with local businesses and members of the diaspora. Government is pushing composting as a method to reduce the amount of waste generated for disposal. Executive Director of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, Audley Gordon, says the agency has conducted studies which show that over 60% of the country's garbage is compostable. He says hopefully Jamaicans will develop a culture of composting, which will help to decrease the budgetary allocation granted for garbage disposal.
If you have year after year the survey is showing you that this particular category is the highest percentage of your garbage, this is an idea whose time has long come, that you must find a way to treat with that high percentage of compost.
Mr. Gordon was speaking at a recent JIS think tank session. Today was observed as National Solid Waste Day under the theme, Compost Before You Dispose. And finally, many Jamaicans turned out yesterday evening to honor the life of former Prime Minister Edward Seaga in a traditional 9-night ceremony in West Kingston. It was held in the Tivoli Gardens Square, pulling residents from there and other communities in the constituency he once served. The 9-night is one in a series of activities planned for West Kingston leading up to Mr. Seaga's state funeral on June 23. A football tribute kicks off on Sunday, June 16 at the Edward Seaga Sports Complex, featuring Tivoli Gardens Invitational, matching skill to the Premier League All-Stars. On Wednesday, June 19, a revival table will be hosted at the Tivoli Gardens Community Center, while on Saturday, June 22, a setup will be held in the Tivoli Gardens Square.
There will be candlelight vigils across the constituency, including Fletcher's Land, Midtown, and Denham Town. And there will also be a candlelight vigil in Ocho Rios, hosted by the Honorable Shaini Robinson. Again, that vigil will see the participation of the revival community from Wattown in St. Anne.
Jamaica's 5th Prime Minister died in a United States hospital on May 28 on his 89th birthday. His body was flown home on June 2 and is lying in state at several locations across the island from June 5 to 20. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
The government has declared June 19 to 22 as the official period of mourning for the late former Prime Minister, the Most Honourable Edward Seaga. During this time, flags will be flown at half-mast. Other activities are also scheduled, and that information is next.
This is a difficult time for all of us as a nation. The passing of one of our great sons, the Most Honourable Edward Seaga, who has served us so well, is a time of sadness. It is a moment for reflection which calls us as a nation, as a national family, to come together in celebration for a life that was devoted to outstanding service for building Jamaica and enriching its people. He is being accorded a state funeral. Condolence books have been opened for signing at the following locations: Office of the Prime Minister, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Condolence books will also be opened at each municipality office in all parish capitals and the House of Parliament. And that will be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and Jamaica's missions overseas. On Wednesday, June 5, body lies in state in Kingston at the Jamaica Labour Party headquarters at Belmont Road from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. On Friday, June 7, at the Civic Center from 9 a.m. to noon in Montego Bay. And then the body will be taken to Ocho Rios, the St. John's Anglican Church, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday, June 10, at the Tivoli Gardens Community Center from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Also on Tuesday, June 11, at the Denham Town Community Center from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. On Tuesday, June 18, the arts in tribute to the Most Honorable Edward Seaga will be held at the Little Theatre in Kingston, featuring the National Dance Theatre Company, of which he was the last remaining patron. The Jamaica Folk Singers, of which he was instrumental in the formation of the Jamaica Folk Singers. Among the other groups performing will be the Tivoli Dance Company. There'll be spoken tributes and other performances. June 19 to June 22nd will be declared the official period of mourning. Flags to be flown at half-mast. And on that day, his body will lie in state in Kingston at the National Arena. Also, on June 19, there will be a special sitting of both Houses of Parliament in tribute to the Most Honorable Edward Seaga. And the sitting will begin at 2 p.m. The state funeral for the late Most Honorable Edward Seaga will be held on June 23 at the Cathedral of the Most Holy Trinity on North Street. The service will begin at 12 noon. Interment will be at the National Heroes Park.
We continue to reflect on the life and work of the Most Honorable Edward Seaga, this time on his early years.
Someday, man, you can go, but now Mr. Seaga, I want to thank you for agreeing to sit and having a frank, open discussion with us about your life and your work. Now, before we delve into all of that, I want to know, and I'm sure others want to know, where were you born? I remember an anecdotal story when I was a child that said you were born on a plane traveling from Jamaica to the US, so we weren't sure where you were actually. Were you Jamaican? Were you from the United States? Can you set the record straight?
I haven't heard that one. I've heard other versions. I was actually born in Boston, where my mother and father were living at the time. She had migrated with her family, and he, because of the affection that he had for her, followed some time after. But then, about the time of the Great Depression, which is 1929, they had to take a second look at what's going to happen there, and they decided to come back to Jamaica. Well, when they did that, it was in 3 months after I was born in 1930.
So you spent your formative years here. You went to prep school here, and you went to Woolmer's Boys.
That's right.
What was it like at Woolmer's?
I'm always grateful to Holness for giving me the opportunity to manifest some of the characteristics that I have, in particular that of discipline. I was a prefect, and I was captain of one of the houses. And it gave me responsibilities with a number of transgressions that could be committed by boys, that you could give them what they call an imposition in order to get them to know that they mustn't do it again. And that was write me 50 lines from this book or that sort of thing. But it gave you an ongoing operation to see the reaction on their side and to measure how far you can go and what do you need to do to really get a change.
Were you also involved in sports?
Oh, Lord, yes. Too many. There was 5 of them.
What did you enjoy the most? Which sport?
I enjoyed cricket the most, and I was nearest to national ambitions when I had to leave to go to Harvard, because the time when you ripen is about from then on, a little further. So Jackie Hendricks came to the front and he became the national wicketkeeper. But the one that I did best in was a rifle, where I had a Jamaican national record for the small bore, 22 caliber, 199 out of 200. It stood for many years.
Okay. You went to Harvard. I think you went there initially with dreams of becoming a nuclear physicist. Is that correct?
I was fascinated by the world that was exposed to me at the time of the war, when the nuclear bomb was exploded. And I sent abroad and got a book to read more about it. And I was fascinated by the whole business of the planets and the molecules and the atoms all having this action and reaction on the other. And that's why I looked at nuclear physics as something that I would be very interested in. But it didn't turn out that way, because to get to the point where it gets interesting is a long haul. And I was too impatient. I wanted something where my brain could be used early, and I could apply it with my own thinking, not to be learning of what others did. Although they were important, of course, very important. But I wanted to put my own brain to work. And so I switched to the social sciences.
Why? Why the social sciences?
Well, it gives you a chance to use your surrounding as the drama, as a theater, and to determine people who are part of that drama or that comedy or that excitement, fits up into pieces of the personality, and together they are a unit in a society. And with all of that, they also practice a culture of their own. And in all of these things, you get feelings that not only enchant you, but you get feelings as to what you'd like to see done.
Why did you go? Why did you go? You leave me all alone. Yo, this is We're committed to reducing the impact of disasters occurring in Jamaica. We're ever ready to assist you before, during, and after a disaster. But everybody have a role to play, so make we work together and follow the plan. Whether rich or poor or where you come from, hurricanes affect everyone, so be prepared. Prevention is better than cure. Be prepared. Listen to OPM.
A message from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management.
As we shift gears now in the magazine, the NSWMA's street fairies make an entrance as our roadways get swept clean.
Once upon a time, in a land far away from a fairy tale, were a people who lived the way you and I do, but a little differently. Much like the shoemaker and the elves, these street fairies don't leave beautiful pairs of shoes behind, but their art shares some similarities, and it's nonetheless worthy of recognition.
Good night, Dana Anderson, shovel user, shovel and jump, clean up Jamaica.
I'm working in company 8 years now. I like the job, keep the place tidy and clean.
They always say to me, they say, this is not a woman's work, but a woman has to do what a woman has to do, eh? You have to work for yours, eh? Nobody ain't gonna give you nothing, so you have to work for it.
Yeah, enough of the woman work hard and plenty of the man them. I get used to my work still, so I don't feel no different from the man them. At the end of the day, I will bread where I work for. So any work for woman. Woman do man work nowadays.
I'm all right with my work. Yeah, I can provide for myself, my nephew, my niece, my child. She don't really like me day out here, you know, she rather me dead with she, but I have to make ends meet. I have to work, I have to pay my bills them. But they don't give me nothing, I have to work my own. But people that see me and want to style me and this, because I try to chuck work me doing them things there. But I don't really watch my face. Because I know, say, when my money enough, you see me?
I want to burn fire upon this whole foolishness that people talk from time to time about. If they don't litter, people don't get work.
Yeah, that's what them say for my time. But them can do better still. Plenty of them can do better still.
Enough of them like we, and enough don't like we, because sometimes we have to do with all the truck like all that, so now them say, you move from here, say you don't thinking truck and them things, but we don't care about that. That's our work.
When you litter, you waste the resource of your country. You make life more difficult for yourself and your fellow men. And you destroy the aesthetic, the beauty of our country that we boast about so much.
We are cleaning up Jamaica. And without cleaning up not Jamaica, wiper, disease and germs are broke out. So everybody who work with solid waste, important people them. All are important.
Differently from the sweeper them, we don't like the garbage bag up and we go through it more easier for it. More time we come out and have to wait on the sweeper them like how you just see it right now. We have to wait till the street sweep up, but if it's bag up, it's more easier for it.
Just the fact that you are generating solid waste, I ask you to just take some time to package it properly so that it gives us more ease of cleaning. And it also helps the side women. They are human beings too. Their job is already very difficult. Don't make it more difficult for them by giving them extra work to do. It is very tough on them. The job is difficult. You know, it's not just about lifting things put in a truck, but some of the things they encounter out here. Bags with human feces. That's common occurrence, especially in the market district. The smell of urine is everywhere, and it's in the solid waste that they're picking up. All sorts of meat cuttings, fish bone, fish back, fish gut,
just about anything that people don't want, and they have to pick it up. They have to face it.
A certain time at the night, when we reach certain hours at the night, like 3:30, 4 o'clock, gunman can't strike and we have to run left the garbage some of the time and all them things then. And come back around and take it up see because we cannot leave it. See me? We cannot leave it. And we don't like them keep Jamaica beauty and clean.
Well, I stay out of them way and I don't really go for them though. I still things that happen, you know. I just stay by myself, each time I look a corner.
And yet, despite the tough nature of the job, these people show up not just for work, but they show up and work.
We're backbone of the company, you know. Who clean the rubbish and my backbone, we're the most important people in the company. How we clean the work, enough mess and good rubbish, bad rubbish, all different kind of rubbish.
I believe deep in my heart that if you talk about heroes and heroines, our sidemen and sidewomen are right up there with any because of the human service that they provide and in very tough circumstances to keep Jamaica clean. Day after day, night after night, they are out and about, they roll up the sleeve, and notwithstanding all that they have to face, their head is down and they are going relentlessly in pursuit of that clean Jamaica. I laud them. I lift my hat to them. They are good people. I just hope that more and more people will see them for who they are. People who are there to safeguard the health of the nation. They are the NSWNA. Without them, we are nothing.
Yeah, I love my work. I love it. I love clean the shovel. I really get me use a night time
And as sunbeams break the night sky and the stars and moon bid their goodbye, the city smiles.
Keep we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it. Keep we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it.
No dash, no paper, no dash, no plastic. Dispose your garbage responsibly. No know how to recycle, learn it quick. And if you drop it, better pick up every piece of it. Plastics last forever, don't forget the bits. Cause when them touch the street, them end up in the sea. Collect pan the reef where they fish them feed. And when you want seafood, I eat your
Keep
eat.
we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it. No dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica.
As we close today's show, we ask that you stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.